Hello everyone, my name is Tocho and welcome back to another episode of Dragon Age Inquisition, and today we are starting off with talking to some of our new friends that we made. Oh, Lily, wants to talk to us.
Yes?
Okay, she has a thing overhead.
Why do you want me to seek out the rebel mages? Why do you care?
I've known mages. Some of them were better people than me. And yet I'm free and they're not. It's not right.
They called you the left hand of the divine.
That they did? What of it?
I'd like to hear about Justinia. What was she like?
A friend. A mentor. Like me, she had secrets, made mistakes. It made her human. I think her followers responded to that.
How did you and Justinia meet?
I met her a long time ago, before she became divine. Before she was Justinia. When I met her, she was Mother Dorothea. I was at my lowest. Broken, lost. And she saved me. No, wait. She hates it when I say that. I saved myself. She just showed me it was possible.
Was there something more than friendship between you?
You're asking if we were lovers? Typical. I was devoted to her, therefore it must be romantic. Love is common. Love is simple. My bond with Justinia was something greater. She was a sister, a mother, a teacher. So to answer your question, yes, it was more than friendship.
We'll talk more later.
Okay. For the chargers, there's a messenger. Who's this dude?
Excuse me. I've got a message for the Inquisition, but I'm having a hard time getting anyone to talk to me.
Who are you, soldier?
Cremisius Aclasi with the Bulls Chargers Mercenary Company. We mostly work out of Orlais and Navarra. We've got word of some Tevinter mercenaries gathering out on the Storm Coast. My company commander, Iron Bull, offers the information free of charge. If you'd like to see what the Bulls Chargers can do for the Inquisition, meet us there and watch us work.
What can your Bull's chargers offer the Inquisition?
We're loyal, we're tough, and we don't break contracts. Ask around Val Royeaux. We've got references.
What should I know about your commander?
Iron Bull. He's one of those Kunari, the big guys with the horns. He leads from the front. He pays well, and he's a lot smarter than the last bastard I worked for. Best of all, he's professional. We accept contracts with whoever makes the first real offer. You're the first time he's gone out of his way to pick a side.
Why did your commander send us this information?
Iron Bull wants to work for the Inquisition. He thinks you're doing good work.
I look forward to meeting this Iron Bull.
We're the best you'll find. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
Okay, well, that's something else we can do. We do need to head into Ferelden at the start of this episode. We've got some people to look for over there. Have you heard the story of King Bedwyr? Bedwyr, like most kings, was a man of great pride who expected nothing but complete loyalty from his subjects. He believed the best way to achieve this was through fear, after all. Those who feared him would never cross him or question his rule. Most importantly, those who feared him would always seek to please him. Bedwyr cultivated terror in his subordinates through the gleeful and unrestrained use of a contraption referred to as the Maiden. Maiden was a hinged iron casket, as high and wide and deep as a man, with vicious spikes within meant to pierce through the poor soul locked into it. Bedwyr's maiden was a prized possession and stood in a place of honor in his throne room, often with the screaming victim inside. Political rivals, suspected assassins, treasonous ministers, the maiden consumed them all. But as time passed, more people were given to the maiden for increasingly trivial offenses. Cook for oversalting the king's food, page boy for dropping his sword. The maiden cast a pall over the kingdom, and its people prayed for deliverance from their cruel king. Then one day a strange woman rode into the city. She called herself Ember, and was an emissary from a far-off land. Her leaders had heard, she said, of Bedwyr's wisdom and authority, and she sought the king's counsel. She thought that he had earned the adulation of brother kings across the sea made... The thought that he had earned the adulation of brother kings across the sea made Bedwyr swell with pride, and he granted Imber an audience. They dined and danced, and through it all Imber flattered and fawned over the king. At the end of the night, Imber asked to see the maiden, the infamous device that had given Bedwyr all his power. The king, giddy with praise, proudly presented Imber with the empty contraption. Imber looked at the maiden, sighed with disappointment, and said, "That does not look terrifying at all. I should have imagined the spikes much sharper." Bedwyr grew red at her comments and replied, "The spikes are sharp enough. Look at the blood that still clings to them." "But it's so small," said Imber. "Are only children and women its victims?" Bedwyr grew redder still and replied, "Of course not. The maiden has devoured many men." Imber shook her head and said to the king, "I do not believe it. Surely no warrior could fear this thing. A man like yourself, tall and muscled, will not fit within." The king laughed and saw a way to prove the merit of the maiden to the Embers. "I will show you how easily a man like myself could fit," he said, and with that he stepped into the device. But Imber was waiting, and no sooner had Bedwyr squeezed himself into the iron casket than Imber slammed it shut on him. Imber took the maiden with the screaming Bedwyr inside through the castle and down to the city, and the people, finally freed from the king's tyranny, cheered and danced to the singing that echoed through the streets until Bedwyr was dead and it was finally stopped. Okay. Where is she in here? Where's Sarah? Let's go talk to her. There you are.
So, this is it, huh? Oh no, it's fine, yeah? It's just, I thought it'd be bigger. Hear that? I meant the stronghold, but it sounded like... Well, it's funny, right? Anyway, stopping wars should earn more sovereigns than this. Need things back to normal for coins to be flowing again. Another reason the Templars and mages need to be sat down.
It's not just a war between those two.
Well, sure, the sky has a hole in it, but I can't put an arrow in that. Well, I have. Doesn't come down. That's weird. And that's the point, right? It's weird and right there, but they still want to punch each other. They're too busy to look up where the real questions are.
Is there something else you're looking for? Like, what's behind all this?
Maybe. I don't know. First things first, right? I help you, march, arrow, kick. Then people stop being stupid, and everything starts to make sense again. Sound good to you, all-chosen Lord Herald?
I'm committed to putting an end to this crisis, whatever it takes.
It's why I'm here, yeah? This is where it gets done, whatever it is. Can't do a bloody thing with everyone pissing themselves. Stupid everyone. Chasing the Lord Seeker, I hear. Anyone who thinks they need Lord in front of the name, that's bad. Bet he's got a portrait taller than he is. That's your first clue to a total arse. Fact.
You apparently have a lot of friends. Tell me about your network.
It's not mine, right? I mean, it is, but it's also everyone. Everyone who wants to shove it to nobles who hide behind gold and silk. And hats, I guess.
Is Red Jenny real? Or was she always just you and your friends?
Dunno.
Don't you care?
Not if it works. I mean, red is scary because blood. And Jenny is... Look, nobody fears the bunch of people who do random stuff. And besides, it's easy. Nobles want a bogeyman because they need to believe normal people can't get at them. Numbers, right? It don't have to be so complicated.
So do you take turns leading or something like that?
There's nothing to lead. Put a few favors in, take a few out. Stop and you cut yourself out. Other than that, we stay out of each other's way. Probably best. Some are right arses.
Are you just about pranks and revenge, or is there more to it?
Well, it's a weave, right? I grease a ballroom, so a wyvern chasing Git has to hunt Sprained. Strangely, handmaids leave his vault open. His heirlooms pay off someone else. Maybe clean streets in Kirkwall so someone gets something else. Pish, pish, pish. A lot of people eventually get help or a laugh. Or maybe someone dead, if they deserve it.
I'm glad I met you before someone decided what I deserved.
You're no hateful ass so far. I'd just get you with a pie or something. Anyway, assassin's a bard's job, innit? No fun, that lot. They might plonk a noble, right? But only to raise another. Plus, I'm shy at singing.
Where are the people you promised?
If I knew, there wouldn't be much use. That's sort of the point. Look, unless your baddies are rocks or trees, They have people they use. Cooks, squires, wipers. Yeah, I know. Wipers, right? You better believe the one with wipers deserve it. Right in the... Well, anyway. The little people will be there when you need them. In a million little ways.
Seems like there's no way the people who contribute could even know what they're helping with.
Don't need to. Maybe some ask for a target, a note like. But maybe they plant something just to help mess with things. I did something and something happened. That's a wish for some people. Probably not heralds. Anyway, sometimes I don't even do anything and people think I did, because something happened anyway. That's good too. Free payday. And free blame right. But whatever.
I can play along if it works for you.
You have a choice. Hail the Inquisition.
We'll talk another time.
It's all good, innit? Chasing mages, that's a Templar's job. A big, armored, pissed-off helm polisher. Not too late to go find some. Or stay home.
Tell me about yourself.
What about me?
How about the basics? Where are you from?
Ferelden?
I got that from the accent. Where in Ferelden?
All over? Okay, fine. Denerim for a bit. South, north, wherever I want.
Oh, you're from wherever. I'm from north wherever.
What?
North wherever. Oh, we had fun on street or in local tavern.
Oh, hardy ha. Oh, funny you. It's complicated. I don't like complicated. Let's leave it at that. Maybe.
I'm just interested in talking to an elf like me.
Don't think so.
Why not?
Well, maybe you're alright. But most elves are too... elfy. Like that Solus, right? Never be as good as we were. Well, who's we? I'm just fine.
There's nothing to learn from any of that history.
Yes, don't do that. What? We lost so bad there was nothing left. You figure out what they wore on their deathbed. You wear it. Waste of time.
You're skilled. Who taught you how to use a bow?
No one.
That seems unlikely.
What? I picked it up here and there. Mostly it just makes sense. It's not like that for you.
Usually it takes considerable discipline. Hence my question.
Hence. Look, I work at it. Practice a little. Not like Cullen and his pets. I mean, you miss, then you don't. Is it that hard to see when it's wrong?
Well, it's not like that for other elves. I know that.
Most I know couldn't find an arrow sitting on it. Right. Maybe I just make it look easy in shite company. Fact still is, no teacher. Where would I find one in alleyways anyway? Sitting and waiting. Great, yeah?
Is the Inquisition what you thought it would be?
Calling an Inquisition is a bit much, isn't it? Does this lot even know what they're chasing? Fair question for me as well, I suppose. Everybody following a rumor. At least I'm used to that.
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Which, the ones who do things, or the ones who give orders?
What do you think about our spy master, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. Knows her business, if you have to have it. And Cullen. I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it. Nice hair though.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch. She knows. She better.
Oh, you're so delightfully blunt.
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here.
I'm intrigued by Sarah. She talks in a way she's very, like, blunt and to the point, but also it feels roundabout, but she's not really. I don't know, it's...
Is there any way you could get...
I'm intrigued by the way she's written. Tale of the Frostbite. Even mountains had a heart once. When the world was young, Korth, the Mountain Father, kept his throne at the peak of Belinus, the mountain at the center of the world, from which he could see all the corners of earth and sky. And he saw strong men become weak, brave men grow cowardly, and wise men turn foolish for love. Kort devised a plan that he might never be betrayed by his own heart, by taking it out and hiding it where no soul would ever dare to search for it. He sealed it inside a golden cask, buried in the earth, and raised around it the fiercest mountain the world had ever seen, the Frostbacks, to guard it. But without his heart, the Mountain Father grew cruel. His chest was filled with bitter mountain winds that shrieked and howled like lost souls. Food lost its flavor, music had no sweetness, and he lost all joy in deeds of valor. He sent avalanches and earthquakes to torment the tribes of men. Gods and men rose against him, calling him a tyrant, but with no heart, Korth could not be slain. Soon there were no heroes left, either among men or gods. Who would dare challenge Korth? The Lady of the Skies sent the best of her children, the swiftest, the cleverest, and the strongest flyers, to scour the mountains for the missing heart. And for a year and a day they searched, but Sparrow and Raven, Vulture and Eagle, Swift and Albatross returned to her with nothing. Then the Ptarmigan spoke up and offered to find the God Chief's heart. The other birds laughed, but the Ptarmigan is a tiny bird, too humble to soar, which spends half its lifetime hopping along the ground. The lady would not give the little creature her blessing, for the mountains were too fierce even for eagles, but the Ptarmigan sailed anyways. The little bird traveled deep into the Frostbacks when she could not fly. When she could not fly, she crawled. She hugged the ground and weathered the worst mountain winds, and so made her lonely way to the valley where the heart beat. With all the gods' terrible deeds, the heart was far too heavy for the tiny bird to carry. So she rolled it, little by little, out of the valley and down a cliff. And when the golden cask struck the earth, it shattered, and the heart was full almost to bursting, and the pain of it roused the mountain god to come see what had happened. When Korth neared his heart, it leapt back into his chest, and he was whole again. Then Hakon Winter's breath bound to Korth's chest. Hakon Winter's breath bound Korth's chest with 3 bands of iron and 3 bands of ice, so that it could never again escape. And all the remaining gods named the Ptarmigan honored above even the loftiest eagles. Hopefully his sister Katrine changed his feather.
I was really hoping you only needed 6.
Okay. We've heard that before in one of the other games, but it's not surprising they put it back in here. Is that like human folklore? Is that Dalish folklore? I'm wondering if it's connected to the old gods in some way, if that's like a fable that might have something to do with how they were formed. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, I don't know. Anyways, so we talked to Sarah. Who else we met? We met Vivian last time. Where is she? There you are.
You've never been to a circle, as far as I can tell, yet you're remarkably skilled. Were you self-taught?
I figured out enough on my own.
You're fortunate to be a quick learner. In my own experience, nothing is more deadly to a young mage than a lack of knowledge. Which makes the current state of things precarious. What do you imagine will happen if the circles are not restored? Do you foresee the Dalish taking us all under their wing?
The war benefits no one. It must end, and order must be restored.
If only the rebels saw things so clearly. Justinia's death has shattered the balance of power in Thedas. If it is not restored quickly, countless lives will be lost. Mages, Templars, innocent people of all kinds now look to the Inquisition to decide their fate.
I'll try not to let them down.
Failure is a luxury we cannot afford, my dear. For almost 1,000 years, the world believed it was in the hands of the Maker. And now many believe you are the agent of his will. Whatever the truth is, that belief gives you power.
If that's true, then I'll put it to good use.
I suppose we'll see. I've stolen enough of your time, my dear. Don't let me keep you. Yes?
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the Circle in 2. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
If you lead all the loyalists, Why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
So tell me about your personal experience with the Circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And there is comfort to be had, you know, in the company of fellow mages. Those born without magic will never truly understand us.
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the First Enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive. Perhaps too permissive, in retrospect.
How did we come to this state with the circles in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means, protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels. Yes?
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Montsimard while still an apprentice.
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up at court here.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine.
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance. I'm Bastien's mistress.
And what does the Duchess de Ghislaine think of this arrangement?
We got along quite well. Duchess Nicoline and I used to host musical salons together. She was a great patron of the arts. She passed away from a fever a few years ago, the poor dear.
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion. Yes?
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarrans or men. I have known some who are impossible to endure and some who are utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royaux. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
Okay. So, with that, I'm liking her character. I like the confidence she exudes. And it is interesting to hear other views from mages on the rebellion and stuff like that, because when we were playing in like Dragon Age 2 and stuff, things were bad in Kirkwall. It was horrendous what was going on there, and it was just
I don't know.
like it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy of this is going to end horribly. And it was after seeing like, you know, the interaction between Mage and Templars in Kirkwall, it's understandable how Anders eventually came to the conclusion that he did.
We're not equipped to care for this many refugees.
But I do agree with her morally and like theoretically on like, you know, if you're going to try and change the opinion about the world, what'd you say? If you're going to try to change their opinion, try not to make it seem like mages promote mass murder kind of thing. But it's not like Anders didn't try that for years, and Meredith was not having any of it, so it came to a boiling point and now we're here now, so she's right and wrong, he's right and wrong. It's a lot to consider. But with that, let's summon the War Council. There we go. We need to head into Ferelden. We're looking for... I think we're looking for a Grey Warden, is what it was? I forget exactly what we were doing. Let's accept our quests from here. Jar of Bees Grenade. I forgot about that. Okay. So we got those, and we need to head to Ferelden to... What are we doing? Anyways, we need to head into Ferelden to look for a Grey Warden, I believe. So let's go ahead and get that going.
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay, so first things first, we did build the Watchtowers, I believe. Yep, there's one over there. We need to go tell him the good news, and then hopefully he'll come join us as our stable master. He's up here, yeah? Yeah. Hello, Bron.
If those refugees are going to defend themselves, they'll need real defenses. I've got a few ideas.
I've built watchtowers in the areas you recommended.
Nicely done. That'll give both your refugees and our farmers some warning next time trouble pays a visit. I'll speak to the Master and have weapons sent to your people at the crossroads.
Nice. Okay, so talk to him. Now we talk to you.
Those watchtowers will keep my farmers and your refugees a lot safer. I've sent supplies to the crossroads. You've held up your end of our bargain, Inquisition. You'll have my whole stable and good hands to go with it.
You sent your stable hands and your horses to the Inquisition. What about you?
Well, you've cleaned up the area, and I can't say I'm not tempted. Still, it feels wrong to abandon my land to go play horsemaster again.
Are you Andrastian? This is a matter of faith. The Maker would want the best to join us.
I've heard some things about you lot. Can't say I'm not interested in what it all means. All right, Inquisition. I'll look to your horses myself. Never let it be said that Redcliffe gave less than the best. Just let me settle matters here and say goodbye to my wife. I'll meet you at Haven.
Alright, so we got horses and a stable master. So we've also we picked up a couple other things to finish up here. We do have to clear out the rifts whenever we get a little bit of a higher level. I don't even know what level I am right now, in all honesty. We got the rifts, we've got the Grey Warden, he's over at the lake. There's also the red Lyrium. We've still got to find out what the hell, or who the hell Philandris is. Okay, so let's go just make our rounds, I guess. We're going to start with the red Lyrium. We're just gonna break it. Cassandra, go kick it, I guess. Don't touch it though. Oh. Okay, we're destroying it. Okay. Could anyone have done that? Because that symbol, as far as I'm used to seeing it, is just Cassandra go kicking a wall. Anyways, off to the next one. Okay, so I do need Cassandra to break it. Let's go! Yeah! Don't get too close, you might mutate or something, I don't know. Last person we saw who held on to it every day of her life, well, not every day of her life, but like... Meredith had, what was it? She made a sword out of it. She had that for, you know, at least a year. Maybe 2. Then she went crazy and turned into a pile of Lyrium. So that's a thing. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt us. There's a deposit up by Dragon Nest. Let's go talk to the Warden.
They will make this a fight, not us.
Blackwall?
Remember how to carry your shields. You're not hiding, you're holding. Otherwise, it's useless.
Blackwall. Warden Blackwall.
You're not. How do you know my name? Who said ah?
Thank you?
That's it. Help or get out. We're dealing with these idiots first. Conscripts, here they come!
Well, that's well enough.
Sorry, bastards. Good work, conscripts. Even if this shouldn't have happened, they could have... Well, thieves are made, not born. Take back what they stole. Go back to your families. You saved yourselves. You're no farmer. Why do you know my name? Who are you?
I know your name because I'm an agent of the Inquisition. I'm investigating whether the disappearance of Wardens has anything to do with the murder of the Divine.
Maker's balls. The Wardens and the Divine. That can't... No, you're asking so you don't really know. First off, I didn't know they disappeared. But we do that, right? No more blight, job done. Wardens are the first thing forgotten. But one thing I'll tell you, no warden killed the Divine. Our purpose isn't political.
So where are the rest of you?
I haven't seen any wardens for months. I travel alone, recruiting. Not much interest because the Archdemon is a decade dead, and no need to conscript because there's no blight coming. Treaties give wardens the right to take what we need, who we need. These idiots forced this fight, so I conscripted their victims. They had to do what I said, so I told them to stand. Next time they won't need me. Grey Wardens can inspire. Make you better than you think you are.
I wasn't aware Grey Wardens could take whatever they want.
It's complicated. If there's a blight, everyone has to help the effort to fight it. The treaties are ancient. Outside of blights, it's as binding as a clever tongue can make it.
Do you have any idea where the other Wardens could have gone?
Maybe they returned to our stronghold at Weishaupt? That's in the Anderfels, a long way north. I don't really know. Can't imagine why they'd all disappear at once, let alone where they'd disappear to.
Why haven't you gone missing like the rest of them?
Well, maybe I was going to. Or maybe there's a new directive but a runner got lost or something. My job was to recruit on my own. Plan to stay that way for months. Years.
You're no help. I'm no further ahead than I was.
Inquisition. Agent, did you say? Hold a moment. The Divine is dead and the sky is torn. Events like these, thinking we're absent is almost as bad as thinking we're involved. If you're trying to put things right, maybe you need a warden. Maybe you need me.
The Inquisition needs all the support it can get. But what can one Grey Warden do?
Save the fucking world if pressed. Look, maybe fighting demons from the sky isn't something I'm practiced at. But show me someone who is. And like I said, there are treaties. Maybe this isn't a blight, but it's bloody well a disaster. Some will honor them. Being a warden means something to a lot of people.
Warden Blackwall, the Inquisition accepts your offer.
Good to hear. We both need to know what's going on. And perhaps I've been keeping to myself for too long. This warden walks with the Inquisition.
Okay, so now we have Warden Blackwall recruited. I assume he's going to be one of our party members again, but again, I'm going to try and see how to unlock specializations before I go and essentially waste points in some of our newer companions. I'm a little bit concerned about him. Ooh, mosaic piece. Because one thing that a good point that came up in the conversation is why is he still around? Shard of paper. Letter found the body of a bandit who stole from refugees in the hinterlands. The ink is smudged and only a few sentences can be made out. You can die pretending you'll earn back your soldier's honor, or you can do something with the skills that son of a bitch taught you. Spend some time with my boys. No one will know who you are in Ferelden. And it's not so bad. A little bit of smuggling, a little bit of extortion, you'll get used to it. Okay. What was I saying? The point came up is that...
crossbow is remarkable, Varric. I am surprised the dwarves have not made more of them.
The woman who made Bianca would rather that not happen. Wars are bloody enough as it is. A crossbow that fires this far and this quickly, with so little training, every battle would be a massacre.
Indeed. I am surprised, not disappointed.
The woman who made Bianca, haven't you always told people that you got out of someone in Darktown? There are many lords and ladies in Valroyo, and I mean this literally. Once the system of noble titles in Orlais was labyrinthine. There were barons and baronies and baronets and sir barons and a horde of others. Each with its own origins and its own nuances of comparison. Your Orlesian aristocracy is ancient and much given to competition. All the nobility play the grand game, as it is known, whether they wish to or not. It is a game of reputation and patronage, where moves are made with rumors and scandal as chief weapon. No gentle game, this. More blood has been drawn as a result of the Grand Game than any war legions have ever fought. Of this, I assume, by almost every gentleman here. As far as titles went, everything changed with the coming of Emperor Drakon, who established the Legion Empire as it exists now, and who created the Chantry. There is no more venerated figure in Orlais. In Valoraya, the statue of Drakon stands as tall as the statue of Andraste. Drakon determined that the Grand Game was tearing Orlais apart, and he abolished all titles besides his own, and Lord and Lady. I am told with some twittering amusement that the action did not end the Grand Game as Drakon had intended. Now lords and ladies collect unofficial titles rather than official ones, such as the Exalted Patron of Tassus Clay, or Uncle to the Champion of Trems. It is a headache to remember such titles, and one winces to think about the poor doormen at the balls who must rattle them off as each guest enters the room. The aristocracy is different from Ferelden in other ways as well. The Orlesians' right to rule stems directly from the Maker. There exists neither concept of rule by merit nor the slightest notion of rebellion. If one is not noble, one aspires to be, or at least aspires to be in good graces of a noble, and is ever watching for a way to enter the patronage of those better placed in the Grand Game. And then there are masks, and the cosmetics. I have not seen so much paint since the kennels at High Ever. But that is another story. Okay. Anyways, you've always told us that you got off of a summon in Darktown, but now you just say you know who made it. Who is Bianca, the person? Assumedly someone very close to him that he's lost. Because he says he won't tell the actual story. Anyways, back on Blackwall. What was I saying about Blackwall? It came up in the conversation that, you know, why are you still around? If everyone else has disappeared. And he says, you know, it's his job to go out recruiting. It's not, you know, maybe, you know, he didn't get the message, I don't know. But that's not how the Grey Wardens work. As far as we've seen, at least, like, no one just goes out recruiting, especially if there's not a blight. And I'm trying to think of, like, why Grey Wardens would disappear aside, or, you know, barring magic powerful enough to single out every Grey Warden, like, individually, and just, like, teleport them somewhere. If they were to just disappear, I don't think they would have gone to Weishaupt, because people would have noticed them moving. Because the Grey Wardens don't just have, you know, just themselves, like, their keeps have, you know, they run villages and stuff. At least in Ferelden they do. That was like a new experiment they were trying out, I think, at the Hero Ferelden Stronghold. So the only other thing that I could guess is that if they all disappeared, and no one knows why, it would have to be something that they keep closely guarded. And as to where they went, I could only assume the Deep Roads, because no one goes there. The Grey Wardens, aside from dwarves, are the only ones that, like, properly map those out, but most dwarves that are involved in the Deep Roads don't make contact with the surface. So my thought is, what if something Darkspawn related happened? Like, maybe there's, like, maybe they're either actively fending off a blight that no one knows about yet, which why would they do that? Because they would be making a big deal out of it, letting all the nobles know you're going around the kingdoms actively recruiting. So if it's not an official blight, maybe could they be called to the Deep Roads? Because we know when they reach the end of their lives, they start hearing, you know, voices of old gods and Darkspawn and stuff, and they go into the Deep Roads to die, essentially, in combat. And they definitely don't let that little tidbit get out as best as they can, so everyone leaving all at once and then going someplace that no one really checks on would make it seem like the Grey Wardens disappeared, so what could cause everyone to hear the calling, though? Let's head this way real quick while I get my thoughts together. what could get everyone to hear the calling? Something that does seem out of, or a little bit out of place, in regards to the series as a whole, is the last DLC we did in Dragon Age 2, where we went up against, you know, Corypheus, the, what did they call, hold on, let me actually go look that up. What did they call him? Because he had a title with him, didn't he? Hold on. Google. What was the Memento of Legacy DLC? I don't want to look up Corypheus's actual name just in case there's more to him than I know. But, so I'm going to look up just the Memento of Legacy to see if there's a title that they used. I mean, I could always go and check my own video, but no, I remember now. I remember talking about it briefly in the DLC. I didn't spoil anything when I looked it up, so don't worry about that. Or at least not for myself. When we went through the DLC, I made a point when we were talking about, you know, what we were going up against. Everyone called like the dwarves and the Grey Wardens that we encountered in the DLC kept referring to the entity Corypheus, and we were like, I was talking about how he should have known that it may not have been actual Darkspawn, because the ones, the sentient Darkspawn we've encountered have like titles, like, you know, the Architect and the Mother. Corypheus was, you know, something special. Crap, I forgot what point I was going to make after stopping my little rants. Bloody hell, what was I saying? Hold on, this might take me a second to remember. Anyways, so, right, Corypheus... The thing that stood out is that Corypheus, you know, he's Darkspawn, but he's not Darkspawn. He's like I guess the best way I could describe him is like, if he is Darkspawn, he's like, you know, very first generation Darkspawn. He was a Tevinter Magister, supposedly one of the ones that was like there for the start of the first Blight and the corrupting of the Golden City, stuff like that. Like, he's that Magister in the Chantry Legends. But when, like, Anders and the Grey Wardens around him, and he, like, controlled the Darkspawn, he was able to control the Grey Wardens because they had Darkspawn corruption in them. He was also in control of the Carta, but I think the Carta might have been, like, a cult. Or I don't know if the Carta members we saw there were, like, actual Carta members, or if they were just, like, an offshoot that was just worshipping Corypheus, I don't know. But, like, he was able to briefly control Anders. He controlled a Grey Warden party that was down there, except for, what was his name? Lorias, I think it was. The, old Warden commander that was, sent down there for his calling, but he was, like, resisting Corypheus the entire time. Anyways, so Corypheus, like, one of the first-gen Darkspawn / Tevinter Magisters, was capable of speaking to Grey Wardens the way that Darkspawn do, / like the Archdemon. He's able to have that kind of tug on them. So my concern is, first off, why have that that was a big lore dump for a DLC. It introduced like a named character. He's like super important. We assume we killed him, although it wouldn't put it past me if he ends up being like a lich of some kind. I don't know. He seemed too important of a character to just be, you know, one and done with. So my concern is, with that in mind, what if not Corypheus, what if another Tevinter Magister has awoken, and being that, you know, when we saw Corypheus, you know, he was weak, he was waking up, he had been, you know, quote-unquote dreaming for 1,000 years, so he wasn't, like, at full power whenever we fought him. And he could only, like, he was bound in a prison first off, and he could only like exude influence in a limited range around him, but it was still like a powerful lore.
What is it like when Templars nullify magic, Solas?
It is as though you are drawing upon the world around us. Mages draw forth the essence of the Fade, and use that essence to shape reality.
And our powers drive it back, making this world harder to affect?
In a manner of speaking. You reinforce reality so it is less mutable. The Fade has nowhere to gain a foothold, and the magic disperses.
No one has ever accused me of reinforcing reality before.
You are a seeker of truth.
That's an interesting little insight, Solus. What was I saying? Anyways, my concern is, if not Corypheus, then maybe another Tevinter Magister has awoken, has had time to, you know, regain his power. Maybe he would have a much greater range to his control over Darkspawn. This is all, you know, my own, like, pure non-articulated theory crafting based off of things that I know so far. But if all that's true, I'm already suspicious of Blackwall because he seems to have... I'm willing to bet, I mean, I've just met this dude, but he seems to admire the Grey Wardens. This might be a case of, like, you know, the Grey Wardens inspired him, he's always looked up to them. He's not... I don't think he's actually a Grey Warden. But he talks about, you know, inspiring people and, you know, going around conscripting. And, like, if you, quote-unquote, you don't throw around conscription just, like, save a few villagers from bandits. That's not what conscripting does. And for the most part, Grey Wardens don't get involved in politics. They don't really get involved in, like, minute affairs such as, you know, bandit attacks on a couple villagers. I'm willing to bet that Blackwall is someone who's like so inspired and like look up to and like borderline worships the notion, the existence of Grey Wardens. You know, maybe he has some like troubling backstory. He was saved by a Grey Warden, or maybe he's just like, I don't want to say stolen valor or like delusions of grandeur, but it could be something along the lines of he respects them so much that he wants other people to respect them, and he like uses the name to inspire people, kind of thing going on. Which would... we're going to have to go talk to him, of course, to like actually pick through all that, but if that ends up being true, that would also go in line as to why he's still around. And, if there is a calling, it would explain why he's not called. If that made any sense. That was a big rant. Anyways, I'm still level 8. I don't really want to be here. Why are you charging at me? Okay, yeah, you turn. Yeah, all these dudes are level 12. I noticed that the dragon never made landfall, and this doesn't really look like a dragon arena as far as Dragon Age is concerned, because they're usually like wide open spaces. You don't have like obstacles in the middle, because you could probably abuse that for like hiding purposes against the way dragons work. But I had the thought that we never saw the dragon, you know, make land. All it did was shoot fireballs around us. So what if it's just like an environmental hazard that we can get around? So I'm going to try to grab this iron. I'm going to try to run through it because there's a red lyrium deposit and there's this ocularium over here we need to try to get. So I'm going to make an attempt at getting that. Is she going to take off again? There she is. So let's just take a moment to observe what happens when she's goes around. Let's try and take out some of the dragon things while we're at it. Why did I take damage? Why am I hurting? Oh god, he got deleted. They're down again, Barrick. Solus, you don't res people in fire. You gotta wait for that shit to disperse. Okay, what are you going to do now that most of your dudes are gone? Are you going back to the nest? Not flying around me constantly, so that's a good sign. Went off in this direction. Now that looks like it has the makings of a dragon arena. Yeah, you're just chilling over there now. Okay. So hopefully you stay there and we can get some stuff done. Because we're not high enough level to tackle it just yet, because we took one fireball to the face and we're all at, you know, 2/3 health. Cassandra, go give it a kick. There you go. So that's gone. We have the Ocularium, and that's the shard that we found last time. Okay. Cool, so we can get that out the way at least. Oh, okay. Another dialogue-heavy episode. Ooh, there's a dude. Okay, so this is another dialogue-heavy episode, but, at least we're getting good theory crafting out of it, at least. That's nice. So, my running theory right now is that Blackwall is not a Grey Warden. He uses the Grey Warden name, because there's also that line about, you know, outside the Blight, it's just whoever has a clever tongue to, like, justify the trees kind of thing. So good, it makes me think he might be lying. Just a little bit. So I think Blackwall's not actually a Grey Warden, and it's possible that a Deventer Magister has risen and taken control of the Grey Warden. I don't know if I want to say control, but is making them converge somewhere. You know, something similar to the Calling. On like a massive scale, which would explain why Blackwall is still here, because he might not in fact be a warden and therefore cannot hear the call. Yeah. Anyway, so I am going to run around and grab these shards, and then we will wrap up for today. So, checklist for next time. Talk to Blackwall, recruit mages. I think that's about it for the checklist. It's not a very long checklist, but knowing Dragon Age is going to turn into a whole thing. It's going to take hours. At least progressing what the story does. Anyways. So, with that, we're going to wrap up here. My name's been Tocho. Remember to leave a like if you like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye!